Cognizant Technology Solutions, the US corporation. Thank you for taking out the time to attend my presentation. So the agenda topics here are, we are going to cover the goals of a study design process, the industry challenges that we as a whole are facing, what are the clinical software solutions that can aid us, and some examples of the client work we have done, and probably a case study. So the goals of a clinical study process, as all of us know, we aim at reducing our cycle time, making it less costly, and also increasing the efficiency. But the question we need to answer is the pharmaceutical industry actually achieving these goals? And the answer is no. The recent global clinical trial market indicates that the cost is rising exponentially. It is predicted that from 2015 to 2021, the cost will go up from 35 million to around 65. And is the efficiency increasing? No. The unique NMEs launched worldwide are going to decrease a lot in the future as well. So through my experience of working with several clients, we saw that the two major roadblocks or the industry challenges we are facing are a large number of protocol amendments and also the inability to achieve enrollment targets. 60% of the protocols were amendment for each drug, and the cost of each amendment was around 450K. The sad part though is that 34% of these amendments were avoidable, and they happened probably because there was not proper planning in the study design process. So this calls for a need out here to improve this process. Also, there has been a high inability to achieve enrollment targets. 80% trials currently are failing to achieve these enrollment targets. And again, the realization is happening late. 30% of them happen in the phase 2. So let's have a look at some of the impacts that these roadblocks are causing. And I'm sure all of us are from the clinical domain, so we will kind of relate to everything listed out here. We have long clinical cycle time. We have a delay in the study startup time. There is high clinical trial cost, low success rate. And through working in the pharma industry, I realized that there was a lot of rework on the clinical development plan, the CDP. So I'll just give a quick definition of the CDP because I'm not sure if everyone is on the same page here. The clinical development plan basically entails the clinical research study strategy. And this is derived out of your target product profile, which has the goals that you're trying to achieve of a drug and what are the go, no-go decisions that you would take. There are also low volunteer retention rates. We have complex protocols. The protocols are complex because we have a lot of endpoints. We have primary endpoints, secondary endpoints, safety endpoints. And many times we don't need a lot of them. So this is something which is concerning us a lot. There is high investigator side burden. And through all the slides that I've depicted here, what I'm trying to actually say is that the biopharmaceutical industry needs to establish an optimum clinical development plan that reduces the protocol amendments and develops more predictable enrollment outcomes. So I'm sure this is the question that everyone has been answering, that how do we do it? How do we make it more simple? And it is sad that the pharma industry is lagging so behind using the technology. Unlike other industries, we are a decade behind. So what we as consultants are trying to do is, we use these clinical software solutions which pull in a lot of data. So you have the industry data, the sponsor data, and the real-world patient data. And then we do dynamic scenario modeling. So I'll be talking about the scenario modeling a lot more in the next slides. We basically have what-if scenarios. So for example, if I am doing a type 2 diabetes trial and I'm doing it only in Canada and US, I can do real-time modeling and see what will happen if I include another country. So you get real-time cost, risk, and trade-off benefits in front of you, which without these technologies currently, everyone has a clinical data team which takes months to give you those numbers. So through combining both of them, we aim at achieving the most optimum clinical development plan. And that gives us on time, on budget clinical trials. So there is not one, there are many clinical design software solutions, and out here I'm just trying to give you an overview of what these actually do. An important thing to remember out here is that these technologies play an advisory role. The decision-making role will still be in the hands of the clinical development team. It is supposed to assist you in achieving the enrollment targets. So these are interactive technology solutions, and the focus here is on interactive because right now everyone is working in a very siloed approach. We have the regulatory folks in one corner, we have the operational folks in one corner, and it's never like they combine. They combine it so late that you kind of already are failing in your clinical trial. So what we try to do out here is we bring people from the pharma industry. So we have clinical development teams, we have regulatory folks, we have operational folks, management folks, and we conduct what we call design sessions. So the client I'm working with right now in Thousand Oaks, California, they have a team which is widespread up in Europe, Australia, and US. So we use video conferencing a lot of time to make it a lot of interactive approach. It's something very similar to Google Hangout or Skype. And we have a huge wall which is a touch-enabled wall. And it is kind of mirrored. So we have the wall out here, and we also have the wall in the UK. So whatever you are doing on the wall is kind of replicated there. The mirroring is same, so everyone remains on the same page. And what does this tool actually do? It uses predictive analytics, scenario modeling, and a lot of simulations to give you real-time insights. So what are our input sources? We take data from public data. We have WHO, we have clinicaltrial.gov. We have real-world patient data, that is the EHR data, and we are also considering and we are open to integrate any other client resources. For example, clients sometimes have access to good real-world data like Flatiron database. So we try to include that. We collaborate with a lot of vendors to get their data. Currently, there is Translate, which kind of collaborates 19 pharmas, and we have the investigator data from them. So we are trying to integrate that as well. And what does this data source contain? It has a lot of data elements. I have just listed out a few. So we have regulatory time approval, startup time, what is the trial site, what has been the historical recruitment, and what is the process like. So when these teams meet, they enter all the requirements of a particular clinical trial, and then they see how can we model it. The tool models it and gives you the countries and the investigators tiered into 3 areas. So those are the most desirable, the moderately desirable, and the least desirable. So it's something very similar to when you want to simulate something in probably not a very complicated way, but a very user-understandable way, because a lot of our clinical dev folks do not have those biostats insights. So this tool makes it similar for you. It'll just tell you, okay, green means you should go to this country, yellow means probably okay, but red is a red flag, you should not go. But again, it's an important thing for us to realize that a tool is just an advisory thing. Sometimes, a particular pharma, for example, I worked with, they had a very good experience with Colombia. And our tool kept on telling us that it's a red flag. So when we went into the details, we saw that Colombia actually takes a lot of site startup time. It takes a lot of time to get started. But once it's started, it comes to pace with all the rest of them. So because of a high site startup time, it was putting it in the red flag. So we don't have to abide by it. It's not like a law-abiding thing. It's just directional approach. And the best part is you can always maneuver it. So for example, we want to include Colombia, we can shift it from the red to the green. The output, like you can see the country map out there. When you click on each one of them, it'll give you the details. So when you go to the green section, it'll tell you how many sites are available, how many patients will be enrolled, and what is the time of enrollment. So let's look at some of the changes we would have if each pharma implements this tool. So currently, according to the clients I have worked with, I think there are only 2 industry-leading pharmaceuticals who are actually implementing this. But there are a lot more on its way. So currently, we have a siloed approach to the clinical study design process. This tool would make it a more interactive, data-driven approach. We have complex protocols. Implementing this tool would give you a simple protocol. And I say this because we link the objectives and the endpoints. So you cannot have an endpoint which is not listed out in the objective. Many times you have a lot of endpoints, and in the end you realize that, oh, they don't serve the purpose of any objective. So they are totally waste. It's a lot of time, cost, and money you're investing in them. So we have operational estimates right now. Here we will have operational decisions based on predictive analytics. We take several months to collect and review clinical data right now. This will be clinical data at your fingertips. You will have it within an hour. So this is just a recent example I'm taking. None of these values are real, and it's just a random example I have modeled to show you how this tool is beneficial. So this is a type 2 diabetes clinical trial, and what I'm trying to show here is that currently when we got a study design team, they were hell-bent on taking only US and Canada as the model countries. They didn't want to go anywhere else. And when we modeled it, we saw that the model investigator grant cost was coming up to 10.2 million. When we used a tool and we were kind of having a collaborative discussion with them that let's try different options and see what the results are. So when we included US, Canada, and Europe, the investigator grant cost went down to 6.2 million. So you saved around 4 million in an hour, and that is crazy. So when you come up with such statistics in front of the teams, they are more open to discover new places. They are not scared because they are seeing the real-time results in front of them. They are seeing the benefits. A current pharma I'm working with, they have established a team where they are trying to target 20% low-cost countries. And this is a tool which is helping them a lot. So this is one of the case studies. Personally, I have been working with this pharma for the past 8 months, and I have seen a drastic change in them. So when I joined the project, they were very averse to technology. It's sad, but the clinical teams are never fond of technology, and they just don't believe our data. But throughout working with them, we saw that there was substantial reduction in protocol amendments. We also maneuvered a lot of teams to try new countries, which they have never gone to, and we transformed the study design process from a siloed approach to a more interactive design session. So, any questions?